presentation, and you'll notice that there are two names here on the title, Carla Hurley and Gail Boone, and that's because my colleague Carla Hurley partnered with me to do this presentation when we did it the first time. But as she says, I don't want to be in front of the room. You be in front of the room. I'll be in the back of the room. So here I am in the front of the room. And we call that, she and I call that playing to our strengths. Because she does things that I don't want to do, and I do things that she doesn't want to do, and it works. So thank you very much for the invitation. What do you need to know about me in order to be able to sit back, relax, and figure you might learn something from this individual or have a takeaway? I know when I'm sitting in that seat, I'm always the, wonder where this one came from. So if you have any of those questions, I'm happy to answer them for you. If not, we'll just get started.
So where did you come from?
A long time ago, I started out in nursing. Taught nursing for about 10 years, and then moved into the workers' compensation system, spent some time there. While I was doing that, I started to teach at Dow in the School of Health Service Admin program. Came out of health administration. Started my own consulting work probably about that time as well in human resources, labor relations, and professional development type of work. And then went to the province and had an executive role in the province for 4 years before deciding about a year and a half after I was eligible to retire, I said, I want to wake up every day and have more fun than I'm having right now. So I decided in 2010 to do my consulting full time, and then didn't look back. So lots of experience with working with people, leaders, coaching leaders. Decided to do an executive coaching program from Royal Roads, and probably one of the things that was the most fun that I've ever done, really, and just love coaching leaders at this stage. So that's the Coles Notes version. Yeah. Anything else you want to know? So where are you from? What do you do? How many are at the airport? Ah, okay. And so what are some of the things you do there?
Supply chain.
Supply chain?
Yeah.
Okay. I know about that. Being in healthcare, I can relate to supply chain.
Okay.
What else? Okay. A couple of folks who live on my street do that work as well. Okay. What else?
Avionic systems.
Okay. Don't know anything about that, but trust that you do. And do it well. What else?
Project management.
Okay, cool. Yeah, types of projects.
The rewinging of the P3 airplanes.
Ah, neat. Okay, okay. What else?
Agriculture, implement manufacturing companies I work with.
Okay, okay. So what's one of the biggest challenges that you have in your work?
To continually improve the design.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
To meet the challenges, demands of the customers, and changing weather as well.
And how much does changing regulations have to affect your work? Like changing laws and changing rules around design and.
Well, how much, far as my experience is involved in that, I was quite difficult at changing the design to make it more optimized for the manufacturing.
Yeah. Okay.
So, even a little design can save a lot of waste,
Yeah.
and it can optimize for the manufacturing so that everybody can easily, without wasting the time and the wastage, can optimize the particular manufacturing processes and the machines that they develop.
Yeah. So in healthcare, we call that stuff Lean, Six Sigma, and total quality management. Those kinds of approaches to do what you're talking about. Yeah, cool. Okay. So you came here today. This is a professional development event for you, and obviously there's some reward that you get from that. You've attended, and there's some certification, I'm assuming, points awarded. But you didn't have to come. So I'm curious as to what you'd love to learn about today? What's with this topic, coaching skills for leaders? What's on your mind? What questions do you have? And by the way, a coach, we can hang out in silence for a long time, so I can outweigh you. So, questions. What questions might you have?
How can you make our lives easier at work?
With what respect?
How to deal with being a leader and how to deal with maybe people around you. So
How to lead people
teamwork.
around you.
Yep.
Okay, all right. Good question. Yeah.
How to like genuinely motivate someone towards doing what you think should be like the common goal of the company or that project.
So how do you get people all on the same page and working together in the
Yeah.
same? Yeah. Okay. What else?
Communications,
With respect to what?
with respect to the employees, better communications and a better understanding of their needs and try to marry it with the company goals. and
Okay.
objectives.
Okay. All right. What else?
How to bring younger people to the level they should be in their career as they
So when you mean bring them to the younger level, what does that mean exactly?
I have young engineers that work for me and eventually they have a goal of being a manager and how to
So how do I help?
them develop the skills they need to get there.
Okay. How do I help them get there? Okay. What else?
How to make comfortable when we are coaching somebody else, because every time we teach something new to the people, they are quite hesitant, quite have a fear whether they are going to achieve it, accomplish
Okay.
these kind of things.
Okay. All right. Yep. What else?
How to make engineers into good managers,
Okay.
which is
Long shot.
Well, you know
That too,
what?
yeah.
You know what? It's you say that and you chuckle about that, but that's actually not isolated to engineers. It might feel like it is, but all of us who have subject matter expertise and we're really good at what we do, when we move into that managerial and leadership role, there's a well-kept secret, and that well-kept secret is nobody tells us the job changes, right? And I call it the 80-20. So if I'm an engineer and I'm doing my project management or whatever it is that I'm doing, then when I'm doing that, I'm applying myself, my expertise, my subject matter expertise, most of the time. Some of the time I have to interact with people and try to get along with other people and try to motivate other people, but I'm mostly responsible for what it is that I do. When I become a manager, that shifts. Now I'm 80% responsible for people and 20% responsible for my subject matter expertise, but nobody tells me. Not only do they not tell me, but they haven't got the plan in place to help me get skilled to do that. And the job is different, very different than when you're applying your technical expertise. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So good question, great questions, you guys. Okay, so going to travel around a little bit in all of that territory, and I'd love to just have a conversation with you. So if you've got questions or you want to stop me and say, what do you mean by that? Just feel free to do that, okay? Generally, I want to talk about what it means to lead. What is coaching and what is not coaching, to introduce you to a couple of key coaching skills, and then talk a little bit about how it possibly could get applied in your role. There is something called the International Coaches Federation, which Rosalie referred to earlier, and I'm a member of the Atlantic chapter. And the ICF, it defines coaching as that partnership with a client. Now, a client could be your employee, but a partnership with somebody else where you're playing the role of the coach and this person is playing the role of the person being coached. We often call them a coachee, in a thought-provoking and creative process that inspires them to maximize their personal and professional potential. Now, what strikes you about that?
I think you use your skills to let them be very introspective and find strength or talent within themselves.
Which doesn't mean giving them the answer. So that's one thing that becoming a manager, I just had a conversation with somebody yesterday when I was doing a 360, a debrief with them on a 360 that they had. And this manager was talking about, as many of them do, there's not enough time in the day for me to do everything that needs to be done. I said, well, what are you spending your time doing? Well, they're bringing me all these problems and I'm expected to solve them. And my question was, are you really? Whose job is it to solve the problems? And if you solve the problem for them, what are you doing? You're enabling them not to do it, and we actually call that, in the industry, we call that learned helplessness. So you're actually teaching them to rely on you and teaching them how to be helpless. I don't have to know the answer to that, because if I take it to Gail, she's going to tell me. So exactly what you said is creating the conditions by which you're bringing the question. And you're creating the opportunity for them to step into their potential. And they may come at it kicking and screaming because they're used to having somebody do it for them. So there's a cultural shift that has to happen here with them and sometimes with your organization. But essentially, really good managers, really good leaders bring questions and support the discovery of the answer. You don't leave them on their own, but you support the discovery of their answers. I was coaching another individual the other day, and this individual is really frustrated, doing some work on emotional intelligence because feels like he doesn't manage his emotion as well as he should, and I would concur with him. He gets frustrated, it's obvious. So we were working on open-ended questions and helping the people that were coming to him step into this. And he went back and he started to try it right away, and he sent me an email, and the email said, you know what, I tried it, and already I've gotten really positive feedback. An employee said to him, I really like the way that you're asking me questions rather than telling me the answer. It makes me think. And so that's part answer to your question, how do I get them ready for jobs? Build their capacity. Help them learn to problem solve. Don't give them the answer. Set up the conditions for success. We coach them. Okay, so when we talk about leaders and leadership, who here remembers West Wing and has watched West Wing? Okay, now I may not get the sequence right, but there's a vignette, a scene in West Wing, which I had in the presentation, but I couldn't find it. It's gone. And I'm not technically savvy enough to find it. Where Jed, the president, his lifelong priest, comes to his office, has never been to the Oval Office before, and when he enters, he says, how should I address you? As Jed or Mr. President? And in a very eloquent way, the president says, I am the office. So in here, it has to be Mr. President. And the notion is, one of the challenges for leaders and leadership, when you're in that leadership role, you are the office. So it's figuring out how do we represent the responsibility, the accountability. Hi there, feel free to wander around. How do we represent the responsibility, the accountability, and how do we hold other people accountability in the execution of my role? So how do I do that? And part of being clear about how we do that is we need to know that employees need to be able to answer 3 questions. They have to be able to answer, do I know what you want me to do? Do I know what you want me to do? Can I do it? And do I want to do it? And there's a direct link between motivation, satisfaction, and results. Do I want to? Do I know how? And that's where we as leaders And managers have to be able to be clear in the articulation of what it is that we want them to do. And when we check that out with them, we don't say, do you understand? Because if I say to you, do you understand what I want you to do? And I'm your boss, what are you going to do?
Oh, yeah.
Right on, right? So that automatically shuts down their opportunity to say, I need a little more clarification, or no, I'm not quite sure. So what's a way that I can check to see if he knows what I want him to do?
Ask him what he's gonna do.
What are you going to do? And not like, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do now? Right? So I can ask him, I can say, so just so we're clear, and I can be confident that I've been clear, what have you heard? What have you heard me say? What have you heard about the expectation? What do you think you need to deliver? What else do you need clarification on? And make it okay for him to have a question. Partner of mine who was doing some work as recently as yesterday relayed to me a circumstance where in a room with professionals, and they were doing a strategic plan, and this individual had his name by a number of things that he was going to be required to do, and he wasn't saying a word. So my partner said, you know, we've got this nice plan and everything's all put together, and this, your name, you're the resource beside this. How are you thinking about this? He said, I don't know how to go about this. And that was the first time that in the history of that group of individuals that somebody was brave enough to say, I'm not quite sure how to go about this. So as coaches, we have to create the space when we're managing or leading and we're trying to coach employees. We have to create the space where they can say, I don't know how to go about it. And then we start asking open-ended questions to help them uncover that. So when someone says to me, I'm not really sure about how to do this, I don't tell them how to do it. I say, well, if you had to start somewhere and investigate it, where would you start? Well, I don't know. Well, if we reverse the roles and you're sitting in my seat and someone came to you and said, I'm not sure where to start, what advice would you give them about where to start? And then they can answer that question. They can say, well, I would tell them to go to their da-da-da. I tell them to go to their manager. I tell them to go to their colleagues. I tell them to go to their industry standards. Okay. So it's simply a matter of setting it up so that they can answer the question. Not setting them up, but setting the situation up so they can answer the question. So, we taught this whole notion of becoming that manager. There's so much pressure on a manager. We enter that role and we think we have to know everything, and we have to have all of the answers, and we have to get it right, and we're going to wear ourselves out. You become the go-to because you've got the subject matter expertise. You've been promoted likely because you're a nice person, and you also have the technical expertise. To manage, you know, give that information to others, giving advice, but to lead is different than managing in that you're creating capacity. Hold them big. Now, what might I mean by that? Hold them big versus hold them small. Hold them big.
Confidence in them?
Have confidence in them. Even when you don't really have confidence in them. Right? Because sometimes you're going to go, oh my God, really? I'm going to let you do that? Am I crazy? Been there, right? So before we go let them do that, we coach them. So what is it that you understand that we've got to do here? And walk me through how you're going to do it. And what might go wrong? And if that goes wrong, what's your plan? And what resources can you reach for? And at what point do you feel like you would come to me if you needed some help? So you're asking all open-ended questions. What's the difference between an open-ended and a closed-ended question?
Closed-ended is a yes or no.
Closed-ended is a yes or a no. can be answered with a yes or no. So when Anna Maria Tremonti is going on about, you know, big, long, 3-sentence questions, but she starts with, can you? She's asked a closed-ended question. Because the person who's answering it can say, yeah, or no. But you open that up with, what can you? What are you gonna do? What can you? How can you? What might you? In front of it, and you now open it up into an open-ended question. So I catch myself all the time, starting with a closed-ended question, going, what, now let me speed bump back up and putting a what in front of it, now I've got an open-ended question. So even the ones that I'm nervous about, I can decrease my nervousness if I explore with them and coach them with the open-ended questions. Who, what, when, where, why, how. And learn to hang out in silence. Because that's the place where we do our work, where our thinking happens. If we rush to rescue and provide the answer, then we've taken the pressure off. They don't have to think, and all of a sudden we've let them off the hook. We've done it for them. But really, we're asking a question, and we want to create that internal little bit of discomfort, because that's when our creativity and our innovation and that's what happens to us physiologically when we're creating. We have that little bit of internal stuff going on, and we can actually learn. We manage projects, but we lead people. And coaching is a leadership skill that creates individual accountability and sustainability. So when we have people and we want to grow them, we have to coach them. Coaching is about that discovery. It's about observing, giving feedback, designing approaches with them. It's about growth. It's about motivation. People will tell you that they're a lot more motivated and they're a lot more engaged when they can have a hand in the design. Even if the job is a pretty routine, pretty standard, you know, you do the same thing every day. If you ask them, how can we do it better? Or 4 questions, simple little questions. Keep, tweak, stop, and start. What do we need to keep doing? Because we're doing it really well, and it works, and we don't want to mess with it. So what do we need to keep doing? What do we need to tweak? Good idea, but we're a little off on our execution. We're a little off on our something or other, you know, and that's a lot of what your work is. What do we need to tweak? What do we need to stop doing? Because it doesn't serve. It doesn't serve the customer. It doesn't serve us. It doesn't serve the industry. It doesn't serve our relationship. What do we need to stop? And what are we not doing that we need to start? If we started doing it, it would make a difference. So starting to ask your employees those questions, really genuinely listening to their answers, acting on the things with them that you can act on, starts to build trust, grow their capacity, and they start to come to you more often, because now they realize that we're in a dialogue here, and something's going on here that is different. And it helps motivate and retain high potential employees. Coaching is not telling them. It's not a single event. It's not a thing that, okay, now I've coached you, you're done, see you later, goodbye. It's an ongoing process where the coach has to be really aware of how he or she shows up in the dynamic, so that you're setting up an ongoing relationship that is about building their capacity over the long term. It's not about only fixing problems. It's not only about the organization. It's also about helping individuals as well. So when we're coaching, you know, a lot of people mistakenly spend their time here, being directive, telling, training, giving advice, telling them what to do. When we're coaching, we're here, generating ideas, creative thinking, clarifying, questioning, listening, and it's much more non-directive. Now this takes courage. In your positions, you know, think about the people that you have worked with in your life or in your home life or in your volunteer life where, you know, to be non-directive with them would make you really nervous. You got a face? So part of our challenge is how do we shift who we are in the exchange to be more coach-like, to signal trust, to build their capacity, to clarify what you need and want from them, but to not give them the answer. There's a really good book. I don't think she knew she was writing a leadership book because she wrote a book for kids. It's called Kids Are Worth It. And it's written by a woman called Barbara Coloroso. But she's actually written a leadership book. She drops parents down into 3 categories: the jellyfish, the brick wall, and the backbone. And the you know, what the consequence of being a jellyfish parent is, or, and you know, I say jellyfish manager, inconsistent, rule is this way one day and that way the next day. Well, that produces a certain result in the workplace. Backbone, or brick wall, is my way or the highway. Do it because I told you to do it, and don't ask me any questions. That produces another undesirable set of features in the individual people that we're trying to grow. But when we're backbone, that's about clarity. It's about working with, it's about growing and trusting. And here's the thing we need to do, how are we going to get there, what are the options, and what are the consequences, and now you know. So let's figure out the execution. And that's non-directive, a lot of this stuff. Generating the ideas, creative thinking, clarifying. So what is it that you understand that you're going to do here in this particular situation? How are you going to do that? And listening. What's the difference between coaching and mentoring? Sometimes the words are used interchangeably, but they're not interchangeable. They're not the same. They don't mean the same thing. What's a mentor?
A mentor be someone who gives advice to people versus and within Engineers Nova Scotia, actually your supervisor shouldn't be a mentor
Because
there's a conflict of interest.
Okay.
And,
yeah. Usually a mentor is someone who is more senior, more experienced, who gets partnered with a junior or someone else who wants to grow a particular subject matter expertise or a particular skill that the mentor has, and the mentor is taking him or her under their wing and helping them to develop that. So there's more of an imparting of the knowledge. Valuable, quite valuable, but just different than coaching in that there's more telling involved. Now, a mentor can also be a coach in his or her style, but there's a conveying of, a mentor is usually more about conveying the information. What are some of the reasons that coaching would be valuable for you in the work that you do? How could coaching serve you?
Just as you've said, sometimes there's not enough hours in the day to do every discrete item. It'd be nice to, when there's a long-term goal in fostering abilities in other people, and it sort of takes things off your plate. And then allows, I think, everybody to start to move up the ladder in terms of experience and seniority.
Yeah, okay. What else? So, I mean, you've said about 4 things there. Allows me to get the work done, allows some succession planning, creates growth opportunities in other people. What else?
Motivates other individuals.
Helps motivate other individuals. Are we still not sure about the motivation thing? That's a closed-ended question. What else do you need to know about motivation? Because that was one of your questions. How do you think it motivates people?
Engages them a bit more.
Hmm?
Engages them a bit more.
Engages them a bit more. Somebody said something I started to say.
That's what I'm gonna say.
So, I mean, think about it. Just think about the fact that, I don't know about you, but I've got things in my life that when I have to go and do them, I'm like, oh, you know, I just don't want to do that. Just don't want to do that. But if somebody presents it to me in a different way and lets me have, and I have more control over it, and I can design to do it the way that I want to do it rather than the way you want me to do it, then you can then I'm more likely to be in it with you. And those 3 questions are, you know, do I know what you want me to do? Can I do it? Do I want to do it? Now let's talk about that for a minute. Do I know what you want me to do? That's on me to make sure that that's really clear and I can check back with you. Can you do it? Well, maybe you can't right now. But if you can't right now, is there knowledge, skill, or ability that we can grow to enable you to be able to do it? If the answer is, yeah, we can get you there, then you're a keeper. But if the answer is, you're never going to make Gail a brain surgeon, she just doesn't have what it takes, you know, she doesn't, you know, then I'm not a keeper. You don't want me in your OR, right? So, knowledge, skills, and ability. Can we turn the can't, right now, into a can? The last question is harder. Do I want to? If you do all of the right things, first 2 are clear, in other words, the expectations are clear and you're confident of that. You know the person can, but they don't want to, then here's where it gets tough. You need to help them be successful someplace else. Make the call. Because the don't want to is going to cost you a lot of time, energy, money, and demotivate the rest of the people that are working with this individual who sees themselves, themselves picking up all of the work that this individual doesn't want to do. That's a tough call for us to make. It's a critical one for us to make. And before you make it though, you have the coaching conversation and call it. So what are some key coaching skills? One of the biggest ones is listening. And so I'm going to introduce you to 3 levels of listening. The first one is called internal listening. The second one is called focused listening. And the third one is called global listening. Level 1 is all about me. Level 2 is about you. And level 3 is about us. So level 1 is about me. Most of us who haven't developed our listening skills, most of us spend most of our time in level 1. So what does that look like? That looks like as you're listening to somebody else, you're evaluating what they're saying. You're judging it and you're thinking about the thing that you're going to add to the conversation. Or you're going to interrupt and add it to the conversation now. Or you're going to be paying attention to how you feel about the thing that they're saying. Or it's all internal stuff. So let me give you an exaggerated view of level 1. Who will have a conversation, a very quick conversation with me? Somebody. Very quick, and it won't be hard. I promise. It'll be really easy.
I'll do it.
You'll do it? Okay, you're going to bail them out.
Yeah.
So Rosalie, we're meeting each other socially for the first time. So, and I'll show you level 1. I'll show you level 1. Where are you from?
Halifax.
Halifax. How long have you lived in Halifax?
Well, I was born here and moved away when I was 8 and came back for university.
Oh, wow. I've been in Halifax since 1972. Came to go to high school. I don't know how old I am. Came from Newfoundland. And I wasn't sure that I was going to like Halifax when I got here. First, do you like it?
Yeah, I really like it.
Yeah. It's growing on me. I mean, I've lived here long enough that it's... What do you do?
I work at Engineers Nova Scotia.
Oh, what do you do there?
I organize an AGM that's on September 24th and 25th, but I hope everyone in the room is coming to it.
An AGM. God. You get those notices for these AGMs and people want you to go and you just say, like, what's it got to do with me, really? You know, sometimes they go and sometimes they don't go, but yeah, good to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So who was that about?
You.
Right. So let's do it again in level 2. Hi, Rosalie.
Hi.
Where are you from?
I'm from Halifax.
Halifax. How long have you lived in Halifax?
I've been back for about 4 years now.
Oh, back from where?
From Virginia.
Virginia?
Yeah.
What'd you do there?
I worked on an industrial poultry farm.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was fun.
It was different.
I noticed you didn't use the fun word. What brought you back to Halifax?
It's home.
Home. And where do you work now?
I work at Engineers Nova Scotia,
Oh, what's the fun part of that job?
organizing great CPD events for the conference on September 24th.
Wow.
And getting to work with people like you.
Okay. So tell me about this conference on the 24th. Did you say September 24th?
Yes.
Okay,
It's
tell me about it.
Thursday. Well, it costs $40. It has a breakfast and lunch included and 3 streams of different topics people can choose from. All the details are on our website.
Cool. Do people usually come?
It's in the past. It's been held in Annapolis Valley at the Old Orchard Inn. So we're having it back in Halifax this year. So hoping a lot more people will be able to come.
Hoping that the change will shift the attendance.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. See the difference? So how did the difference feel to you?
It was a lot more. I was able to express myself more, I guess, and that you really cared about what I was saying.
Mm-hmm. That's a key difference between level 1 and level 2, and we've just done a mini little exercise, exaggerated a little bit for effect, but level 1, when you're in level 1, it's about you, and the person will get that very quickly, that I don't know why I'm in this conversation with you, because it's not really about me, right? So, can this be over soon? Whereas level 2 is all about that person. Now, I may have something that I want to share with Rosalie, but I don't need to put that out there right there, because I'm not going to forget what I needed to talk, well, most days I'm not going to forget what I needed to talk to her about. But once we have to, people have to feel known before they're prepared to let us in. And when we can have that level 2, where our full attention is on that speaker, what's behind the words, the emotion, the body language, the intuition, when we're over there, they feel validated. They feel validated, they're more likely to engage, they feel that we care about them, and they're more likely to be motivated. Now, level 3 is that global listening. What was her emotional field when she was talking about the conference? What was going on, the emotion that she was communicating out there?
Excited?
Excitement?
She wanted it to be a success.
She wanted it to be a success. There was hope. There was invitation. So, how many of you have ever been in a meeting where you can cut the tension with a knife?
When
Right?
you ask who wants to have a conversation with me.
Yeah, exactly, right? Good for you. Exactly. Level 3, I really shifted the level 3 in this room, which was pretty relaxed, and you were listening, and some of you were listening more intently than others, and then I asked you to step up to the plate, and you went, oh shit. Right? Not me, don't look at me, I don't want to talk to you. Right? That's exactly it. I shifted the level 3. As managers, leaders, we can do that all the time. Either way. Now we can cut the tension and shift it back if we just name it. Guess what, guys? It's feeling kind of tense in here. What's going on? And then if there's trust, which coaches work to create trust, then we can have the conversation around what's going on. And usually it only takes you to put it out there, to name it and put it out there for someone to be brave enough. If you hang out in silence, for someone to be brave enough to say, I'm not comfortable with this decision. Right? So they speak from their place of level 1, I'm not comfortable with this decision, or I don't know where we're going with that, or I need more information in order to be able to do what you're asking me to do. We have to create space. Name it and claim it. Okay. Now, interestingly enough, when we do this presentation, we often find that people say, when I go home and use this, it enables me to pay attention differently to my significant other, my partner, my spouse, my kids, or my in-laws, or whatever, that relationships are enhanced. Because just shifting from level 1 to level 2 makes a huge difference in your life. Just that simple little shift. So when you start to make that shift with your employees, with your colleagues, with your boss, even with your boss, it can make a big difference. So we need listening when we're coaching, absolutely. So what are you listening for in a coaching conversation? You're listening for the story, you're listening for the behavior, you're listening for the themes, you're listening for the emotion, and you're listening for what's not being said. What are they not saying? So I'm noticing that you've been quiet for a long time. What's really going on in there? And you hang it. They may not tell you. That's okay. I get the sense that you're not ready to talk about it right now. I want you to know that I'm here, and we can talk about it when you're ready to talk about it. Now, fine line between being the manager who's managing the performance and trying to coach the performance. There are times when you have to take off that coach hat and put on that decisive manager hat, which is, you know what, this is not okay, and we need to do something about it. But you don't go there first. So when we think about it and we're trying to coach somebody, it's really about listening, it's really about asking those open-ended questions and being curious. Now I'm looking for something and I want to come, yeah. So in the coaching conversation, we set it up in a certain way. What's the thing we want to talk about? What's the thing that we have to have a conversation about? And what's the gap between where the employee or the the person is right now and where they want to be? And what do they want to walk away with in the time that we have together? And sometimes it doesn't have to be a long conversation. I mean, I've coached people in 10 minutes where we get really clear, really fast about the thing that's on your mind. So what's the thing that at the end of 10 minutes you'd like to be really clear about? What's that thing? What's on your mind? What's that thing? And so you're that direct with them. And if you can get them to focus and name that thing, then you move over into your skill around the questions. What are the real issues? What's driving it? What beliefs? What assumptions? What's not clear? So, okay, so you want to know how to have a conversation with your boss because you feel like he or she is being whatever. So what's driving that? What are you seeing? What's going, so that you can get a little more context around the experience that the person you're coaching is having. So once he or she has had an opportunity to talk to you about that, what beliefs, what values, what do you think's at play here? Then your questions become around creating the options. So then you're going to go into territory such as, okay, without putting any limits on it, what might we do? Maybe do nothing is an option. Maybe quit and get another job is an option. But what's in between those two poles? And what I often do with folks is we generate a list. And if they run out of ideas, then I put ideas on the list. And then once we've got a list, I say, okay, which of these things on the list are just non-starters? You're not going to do them. They're not attractive to you. You don't think it's the answer. It's not the way to go. And they'll start crossing things off the list. And usually they'll narrow it down. But what it's done is it's opened up their thinking. And it's allowed them to go to the place where, you know what, I never thought of that before. I never saw that as an option. That didn't occur to me. Well, maybe I could do this. Maybe I could do that. Maybe I could combine a couple of these things. So you've created with them. Now the thing about creation is you don't put limits on it. Some of the ideas that they might come up with might be ridiculous. That doesn't pass your lips, right? Because they're creating. They might really scare you, some of the things that they come up with. But if you keep moving through with them, you go to the next place where you're starting to get them to commit to action. And you're saying, okay, what can you do? What is realistic? What are the implications of that choice? Can you live with the implications of that choice? Do you want to live with the implications of that choice? Which are sometimes a yes or a no question is okay there, because you're asking them to really think about that. What are the implications? They've named them. Can you live with those implications? How will you know you've been successful? So you've reached for this little deliberate model where you're contracting with them to focus, you're getting clear, you're creating the options, and now you're committing to action. So that's what you're doing. So, you're not thinking of your next question. It's a positive tone, curiosity versus inquisition, which we talked a little bit about earlier. Open-ended questions, the why, the W questions. You have to be really careful with why. Who, what, when, where, and how. Why sometimes gets received as you're evaluating what I'm wanting to do here. And people sometimes struggle with why. So, what is it about that? So, why do you want to do that? What is it about that that's important to you? So, how do you feel? Tell me about the feeling of the difference in those two questions. Why do you want to do that? Versus, what is it about that that's important to you? How does that feel? First one's much more judgmental. What is it about that that would be critical to make sure happens? What is it about that that's important? What is it about doing it this way that you don't want to give up? It's very different than, why do you want to do it that way? And it's legitimate to know why they want to do it that way. It's just that word and the but word. Yeah, I get what you're saying, but. That has the effect of erasing everything you've said before. Just, it's as if you didn't say it. All right. Get underneath the surface. This is really important, leading questions. People on the radio do that all the time, but surely you think that. No, actually I don't. But you haven't given me any room to say, no, I don't. Surely you can't agree that this is the approach we're going to take. Well, actually, I thought maybe we might. But if I'm coming at it that way, then I have closed down their opportunity to have a different perspective. And if they report to you, no matter how nice you are, your positional power will get in the way of some people's ability to be able to be completely honest with you by virtue of the position. And I don't care how nice you are. Positional power gets in the way of, it just gets in the way. And you have to really work to level that playing field. Avoid stacking questions, and that's just one after the other. I have a terrible habit of doing that. I've already done it to you 2 or 3 times when I phrase the question one way, and then without letting you answer, I phrase it another way. That's stacking. So we try not to do that. Silence, hang out in silence, because silence itself is a question. Silence is a question. Okay. So, to get ready to wrap up, what do you know now that you didn't know coming in? What's a nugget? See, doing it again. What do you know now that you didn't know coming in? Okay. And what difference will that make in your life?
Acknowledging what level of listening I'm in. I wasn't aware of that.
Yep. Yep.
Now I know.
Now you know. Yep. And even if you acknowledge that to yourself, that shift in yourself enables you to get someplace else. Cool. What else?
Why? I like that. It's not as confrontational.
And you felt that. Okay? What else?
There's a subtle difference between coaching and mentoring.
Subtle difference between coaching and mentoring. And what are you taking away?
Well, intuitively, I personally probably not doing as much mentoring as I am trying to coach.
Okay.
I have to inject some mentoring.
Okay. All right. So your situation where you need to do a little more mentoring and you've been coaching. Is that, did I get it right?
Yeah, I think you have.
Okay. All right. So what skill did I just use with him? Clarification. Do you see how it was done? And I mean, I don't even think about it, but how did I do it? Mhm. And another thing that we can do is, did I get it right? Have I got it right? Which part do I need to, correct me? As a manager, if I haven't got it right, I need to set up the environment where you can correct me. Okay, what else are you taking away?
How to confirm understanding.
How to confirm understanding. So some different techniques for how to confirm understanding. Okay, what else?
Engineers tend to be efficient and quick, and I think with relationships, we have to focus on that, asking clarification, asking questions instead of jumping to here's the answer, go do it.
Yeah. And so do some of our personality profiles enable that too. I mean, I'm an A to Z kind of chick, right? I mean, I get it like that, and I want you to travel there with me. And it wasn't until someone pointed out to me, like, slow down, I need the A, B, C, D, E. You got to fill in the blanks for me because I don't get there as fast as you do. So fill in the blanks. So yes, by nature, your profession has educated you into that, but also some of our personality profiles might be that some of us are quicker than others. And when we get impatient and irritated because people aren't coming along with this as quickly as we want them to, that's not because they're wrong or we're wrong. It just means we're different. So what's the strategy? What's the coaching that we need to do? What's the strategy to help people come along with us, to paint them that picture? Some people have a really tough time connecting the dots, and they need someone to help them do that. So when we're coaching, which piece of the puzzle do you understand? What have you got? And what do we need to do to fill in the rest of the gaps? And sometimes it's simply about time. So there's another thing that happens too. How many of you, when you're thinking about something, think better alone? And would take yourself off somewhere and think about it yourself and generate your ideas and bring it forward when it's pretty close to being complete, versus taking it out to someone and saying, hey, I'm thinking about this thing, I don't know how to approach it, I got these ideas, give me your ideas. So if you're in I want to think about it myself first, give me your hands. Okay, you're in the other one. Okay, not as many, but, so give me a hand here.
I think maybe it depends on the size of the problem.
Okay, so introverts do all their thinking in here, and you put them in a room full of people, and it just sucks the energy right out of them. They need alone time to be creative, and they rely on their own knowledge, and they like to work it out here before they put it out there. Whereas an extrovert is many heads are better than one. So an extrovert doesn't know what he or she is going to say until it's out there. And someone else is helping them finish the sentence and the idea, and they're feeding right off that like a feeding frenzy. So if an extrovert goes to an introvert, and you an introvert? An extrovert goes to an introvert and is trying to suck the ideas out. Well, what do you think about that? Like, can we do this? What am I doing to you when I'm putting that kind of ton of pressure, and that pressure creates you to shut. What does the pressure? Blech. What does the pressure do?
Nerves. I won't answer.
Because she.
Coming in my
I'm in her space. I want that energy to feed off that energy, and she's saying, that not the way I work. Go away. Let me think about it. We don't know that about other people. They don't always advertise that. So when we're coaching, we need to make space for that as well. That our person, what way do you like to learn? What is the best way for you to learn? And what kind of time do you need to think about this? so that we're being mindful of the fact that we also work differently. When an extrovert is in an introvert space, you shut them down. It's not because they're stupid or they don't want to or they can't or they don't care. It's they cannot operate that way. You're sucking the life out of them. You need to give them some space. And then they will come back and they'll be able to work with you. So that's excellent, whoever brought that up. Who brought that up? Somehow got me off there. Thank you for that. One more thing that you're taking away, and then we're going to wrap. One more thing.
I'm taking away the fact that I can't maybe connect the dots because you had a slide that said 5 C's of coaching and I only saw 4.
Good for you. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, it's all right. Yeah. I can't even remember it now because I'm the E, see?
The connector's right in the middle.
Connector's right in the
Connected
middle.
it up.
That's right.
See?
There you go. So, you know, the thing to remember is we're just all different, right? And so different is not right or wrong. Different is just different. Can we create the space where as a manager / leader, we can create the context for coaching so that we can grow the capacity in other people? Create the space for them to grow. That means I have to make choices in how I show up as their leader and their manager. I have to listen. I have to ask questions. I have to be prepared to create. I have to use some kind of and you can create your own. You know, it starts with physicians have the diagnostic model. Scientists have the scientific method. It's how do we follow that little pattern of focus on the issue, let's get a little bit more information about it, create the options, commit to the action. Because coaching is about getting them to commit to the action. It's about connection. Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
You sure can.
So you talked about 3 questions. Let's say you go to know coaching skills, what to do when you have the abilities to do it, but they don't want to do it. Earlier you said that they have to find others successful. Isn't there something in between? Could you please elaborate on that?
Yeah, I can. So help them be successful someplace. If I don't want to do this, then why don't I want to do it? And if I don't want to do it because I'm just not motivated to do it, I don't care about it, then what do I care about, right? And if what I care about could be another function within the organization, then is it within the organization's mandate in order to be able to make that transfer happen? So if so, then can we do that? Because we do best when we're playing to our motivated abilities. You know, that's when we are most productive, most happy, most successful, is when we're working at work that doesn't feel like work. Other than that, it can feel like drudgery. So is there something that the organization can do to create the environment where the thing that you do best is the thing that you can be aligned to, the work that you can be aligned to do? If not, then we're having a conversation. And the conversation is, I'm naming it, and I'm saying, you know, I've noticed that there's clarity around what needs to be done, and I know that it can be done. What I'm sensing is, correct me if I'm wrong, a reluctance or an unwillingness or some challenge in getting it done. I'd love to understand what that's about. What is that about? And then we're going from there. We're in this coaching conversation where we're going from there. And at the end of the day, if it's, I just don't want to do it, and I need you to do it, and my boss needs me to do it, then I have a decision to make. And we can actually coach lots of times. I've been in lots of circumstances where I have coached people to face that fundamentally really tough, soul-sucking question that they haven't been prepared to face before. And in the safety of a coaching conversation, they'll come to the conclusion, I need to get out of here because this is not right for me. And they'll do something, okay, so what does that look like? What is right for you? And so, yeah, any more? That's it? Okay. Thank you for your attention. Those of you who want to stay, if you've got questions, feel free to do so. Other than that, enjoy the day.